Okay, welcome to the Behind the Screens episode 2 for the Ventus Relics of the Ancients campaign. My name's Brian, I'm the DM, and you guys are with me for sort of a behind the screens discussion of what I did to prep and how things went for session 2 of our campaign. If you're one of my players, you know not to watch this anymore, but the rest of us, let's go. Okay, so as you've been following along with the campaign, you know that we had a chance to have all of our characters meet, which is great. We have some invested reasons for their characters to be there. Players want to be there because they're playing, right? No problem there. But from a character perspective, I tried to lay the groundwork for each one of them to have personal reasons for wanting to be there, or at least personality reasons for them to want to be there. And I'll go through a couple of them. So from Alora's perspective, she is a protector as part of her personality. And also, she's tied very closely with Riva, who is basically like a sister to her, an adoptive sister from when she was very young. But also, there's little bits and pieces about how this connects to her biological family, in addition to the letter she received bringing her to Ventia in the first place, which she did not act on, oddly enough, in her first session. She didn't say, I'm going to go visit my uncle. She thought this was just as important, and she wanted to take care of this first, which I thought says a lot about the player playing the character, so Melody did a great job with that, but it also feeds into what Alora as a character thinks, and this is important. I need to stick up for my adoptive sister. I need to stick up for the land. I need to stick up for the people. She's very much a protector, and I think that shows. Really good take on a ranger and what she's doing with it. Riva's perspective, you can tell from the emotional response in the first game that this is huge to her. Her mentor was the one that was killed, and luckily was able to be saved, as you do in D&D, after the fact. But especially after the Temple of Melora had been ruined or affected in such a way, it's sort of dug in deep with her. And then from Henrik's perspective, well, he is an explorer, he is a researcher, and he is someone that has a hunger for knowledge, and also, as a member of the Athenaeum, was called to go look into something. It just happens that these things all lined up, and what he's looking into is what is also affecting the rest of the story. So it worked out pretty well that this pulled in into sort of a tight-knit group. As far as that goes, the journey is really starting. I gave a chance for them to wrap up some things that they needed to, although offline, I sent emails to find out what was going on. What did they want to do while they were in the city before they left? So we took a little bit of time for that at the beginning of the game for that, but the rest of it was we're jumping right in. And jumping right in meant travel. And so travel can be tedious at sometimes. What I like to do is, whenever possible, pull it into a skill challenge. So this was how I ran the first encounter. So, sorry for zooming in. Let me go this way. So for the skill challenge, really three things, right? All my encounters, we start with these three questions from a planning perspective. What are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to get to the ruins without any issues. So they're trying to travel to the Donan ruins near Thornmoor without any issues, without more things happening other than just getting there successfully. What's the challenge to the goal? Well, the mountains are a harsh environment, and the group needs to, get there without being detected, and they need to keep their mission secret. And they don't want to fall and twist their ankle on during the climb and descent through these mountains. I mean, there's a lot to go through when you're going through a mountainous environment. You're having to go on foot because horses can't make it where they're going. So it's interesting to have those environmental challenges be there, but also, and this was something mentioned in the first game, and I'm not sure how much the players are really have this in mind right now, but there are other groups that may also be seeking this relic, so they could be already there, who knows. So they need to make it there relatively quickly without having too many issues. So what does this mean? So success in a skill challenge, in this case for me, is they get there without any issues, and failure means, and this is key, they didn't have this happen, but they would have taken a point of exhaustion, which For those that aren't really familiar with the exhaustion rules, there are different levels of exhaustion. When you take a point of exhaustion, you have a disadvantage on ability checks, which can be a big thing when you are trying to make certain ability checks to finish out certain investigations and to look for certain things. So this could have been, pretty bad for them had they failed. But it was a pretty easy skill challenge. I did it differently than the normal skill challenge, which is based on a number of successes and a number of failures for the whole challenge. What I decided to do, because I'm really trying to get them used to thinking outside of the box and to introduce the whole concept of having challenges, is 3 failures or three successes or 3 failures max per day. So this gave me a chance of saying, all right, first 1 to 3 on each one of these rounds is a success or a failure. So what they did here is let me say that not first 1 to 3, but the majority of success or failure at the end of the day out of 3 things, right? So round 1, they had 3 successes and there was a natural 20. And even though you don't do this really by the rules, I always do something cool for natural 20s. So it meant all of the food for the trip was found. We had 3 successes in the second round. That was great. And each one of these rounds for me is a day of travel that they're on. And if they get pretty good and they get enough successes, then I was going to cut the last round off, and that actually happened. So they finished in 4 days rather than 5, which meant they got there earlier than expected. It also triggered the last night of sleep was a dream for Riva. So part of Riva's character is her background is not just a druid, she's also a Aasimir. And so Aasimir have contact with these devas, these angelic creatures, because of her bloodline that will speak to her and kind of help her along and things like that. So because we had an extra week in between sessions, what I did was I recorded this. Rather than do it on the fly and just explain what the dream was, I was able to put something together with music and just kind of slideshow of pictures and really hone in on what I was going to do with my script in the explanation of what that dream was. So I thought it was pretty effective. It seemed like it went pretty well. Again, each encounter has a response. So the basic 3 questions: what is the emotional reaction? Well, they felt good about the journey and they made good progress. Riva was pretty much intrigued by her dream. She was a little relieved that Melora is still around. The heroes are likely going to enter the ruins, and the final choice was enter the ruins. So it's what they thought and what they were going to do. I think that it went well overall. They also had a couple key things that was able to shine some light on what types of ruins these are, what empire. Some skill checks, some really good skill checks, let them believe that, or let them understand that it was the Donran Empire. They saw some obelisks along the way, and a couple of them really recognized what those were. So they were able to confirm that when they got to the canyon. So they knew right away that they were in the Donran ruins because the architecture matched what the obelisks were. So that to some of them was a key indicator. The challenges to them getting into the actual ruins themselves, going in through the doorway and into whatever this structure was, is that there are some guards. And the guards are not just standing there walking around or patrolling. The guards are actually stone-cursed remains of Donran guards that were enlarged. So these are now 12 feet tall people that are in statue form as far as they're concerned, around almost like a well, but it's where the water goes through. I've found some great resources. Go to Describe and you'll find them too. I'll link to the site and become a member, and you'll get access to even more stuff, which I was able to do. And I'm not an affiliate or anything, by the way. It's just a great resource. So even though it looked to me more marshish and tropical, I just explained that this was winter moss, and even though it looked this way, it was winter and very, very cold, even though it looked like it was balmy outside and it looked like it was something that could have been in a tropical climate. I just made it into something that fit the world by it's magic, guys. And just saying it was part of the ecology of Ventus. So I thought that went over pretty well. And it also gave a chance to use that old trope of the statues coming alive. I twisted it a little bit, and because these were actual Donran people that were enlarged and then stone cursed as ways of protecting it, basically what that meant is it wasn't statues coming alive, it was people that became statues and were cursed to be that way forever until something triggered it, and this was the trigger. So I tried to describe that as when they would get hit, little bits of rock would come off, and that rock would liquefy. It still looked like rock, but it would liquefy for some reason. That was basically blood. And so the vials that were captured later, when they look at it, it's going to look like blood instead of just liquid stone. So that's a little teaser that they'll find out later. The other thing is, when I come up with these, is what's going to happen. So I thought about everything that possibly could happen. They could win easily or handle it well, and they could be overwhelmed at some point. They could have retreated. TPK is pretty unlikely, but all that stuff was things I think about ahead of time, just in case. So after they got the video introduction, they had to figure out how to get in the canyon, which DC 10 to climb it down with rigging, which they brought with them, luckily. It was a 15 without. And then they defeated all of the guards. I thought really good role-playing when Carrie's character Henrik cast grease on the area. Sometimes you would think that a new player would just use their weapons and start shooting, and I thought it was a really good idea, even though it didn't work out, that Melanie ran up to kind of push the statue, as far as they were concerned, and let it slip into the big well where all the water was going down. I thought that was a really great bit of roleplay and action economy from her perspective. For a brand new player, I thought it was really good. So didn't work, but they were able to defeat the guards pretty easily. One note, I also had shadow creatures that were gonna attack. I decided to not use them. And instead, it was sort of an on-the-fly decision. I wanted them to feel confident so that when they actually went into the ruins themselves in the next session, they could be at full ability, right? They were actually going to level up. And this, for me, was on purpose, right? So without railroading their decisions, or hopefully I didn't, they were able to really kind of say, all right, I'm going to take a rest and we'll do this on the next day. And one of the big reasons for that was I had a Allura inscribed on the main entrance, and it was done in the handwriting of Allura's mother, and that was something that the character recognized. Even though she was very, very young, she still recognized that script from when she was a child. And I wanted to leave this on a cliffhanger to give them the opportunity to really think about this before they went inside, to kind of stew on it and figure out what's going on with this, and it worked perfectly. Cliffhanger was great. It also was a way for me to make sure that they're entering into this first real dungeon in the game, or first real dungeon-esque map in the game at 3rd level. I want them to be able to go in with whatever subclass they're going into. So it worked out pretty well, I think, for how this was going. So a couple things for me, though. I've got to tighten up my skill challenges just a little bit. I think that just keeping the paces going moving forward, it won't be like this last one, because the skills successes and failures for the skill challenge will be for the whole challenge moving forward, but I wanted to have enough examples for them to be able to really think through all the stuff that they could do. And then the other thing is I got to tighten up my eCam skills. eCam Live, awesome software. Again, not sponsored, but if you are interested, let me know in the comments below and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But it is the software that I'm using to not only stream, but I'm also using it now to record this. And I think that what happened was, on one of the scenes that I was using the picture so that we could look at it and discuss the basin where they were first seeing the ruins entrance, I didn't have the cameras turned on for that scene. So we would go over to it and we were talking, and then when we came back, we would realize, oh, no one was even heard us on the live session. The good thing is, guys, you didn't miss anything because we kind of restated some of the same stuff. And for those of you that are watching the video, as it's recorded, I've edited that stuff out to make it a little bit more seamless, and you didn't miss any content from the game, luckily. So now I'll keep an eye on it and make sure that I don't have that issue moving forward. But it's it's one of those things. We'll we'll get better at this as we go, right? I mean, the thing is, it's me running this, right? So there's no production team. I am the production team. I'm running the game, coming up with the missions. I'm doing all the stuff. So it's not a woe is me. That's just how it is. So I'm gonna mess up. This is real. So for those of you that are wanting to do this yourselves and play with people online, this is why I put this together, so that you can see all of the issues that pop up and hear things as I go, and I can talk about them and talk through how some of this works. Yeah, and so that was it for this session. You'll see a little bit more about what we're going into for the next game. I'm planning a puzzle encounter for the next game as well. Shout out to DM Scotty. Those of you that know who DM Scotty is, that love the crafting part of putting materials ready for your home games, he's sort of a legend in it, one of the OGs that started it all. But I'm using one of his puzzles modified to work for the campaign that I'm in, but then we'll definitely have some combat after that, and build on the secret sauce that's going in behind the scenes to figure out what this is all about. And I'll let a little bit into these behind the screens discussions a little bit earlier than what is going to be released during the game, but even for you guys, I don't want to ruin it. So that's it for today. Keep on playing, and we will see you next time.